There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish.
Good morning, everybody, and happy game day. It's finally here, Nate. Game day. Go Irish. Beat Texas at 4:30, so that's about 6.5 hours from right now. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling really excited about this game. I feel like I was last year, scared, nervous, but also very excited and hungry.
I think you're echoing the sentiments of all of Irish Nation, but we're happy to be here this morning. This is the DosLep9416. We are joining you today from a new location. Our usual studios over at 5 Round MMA were unavailable today due to the fact that the guys are all in Vegas, so hope they're having a good time and being safe. So we're here at our buddy Jason Hedges' house here in Riverside, California in Studio 26 for all your drum lesson needs and studio recording needs. Jason Hedges, your guy, so thanks for having us here in the studio today. So being that it is game day, we have a pretty awesome show lined up. We have at least 2 guests confirmed and possibly one other. So it's going to be a very exciting show, and hopefully we'll get some feedback from some of these former Irish greats as to what their thoughts are about the game. So with that said, we're going to try to make contact with our first guest and introduce him. So bear with us here for just a second. Okay, well, I guess we'll try that person back later. In the meantime, we want to talk about the upcoming game a little bit. Nate, yesterday on College Game Day, everybody except for Lee Corso picked Texas to pull the upset. How do you feel about that?
And you can definitely see who's drawing for Notre Dame and who's drawing for Texas, really. 3 against 1, that usually means that the other guy, the only one guy, is rooting for Notre Dame. So I think that was comforting for all Notre Dame fans yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And I mean, obviously Texas is going to be a lot better this year, but I don't think they're 33 points better. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit, but I think our D-line is a lot more experienced and bigger and better than the Texas O-line. So I think that's going to be a huge factor as well. And then, I mean, we have the two of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and they'll both play. So that'll play into our hands first. I think my only concern is the receivers. You know, Torrey Hunter has, I think, 4 or 5. Actually, he has a few catches, but there's like 3 catches spread out amongst the other receivers that are coming in. So that's a little concerning, but those guys are so athletic. I mean, you got Economia St. Brown who's going to start. Of course, Torrey on the outside, and then you have Lil Ray, C.J. Sanders at the slot position. And another guy that I think people shouldn't be sleeping on is number 81, Miles Boykin. This guy is big, strong, physical, goes up and gets the ball at the point of attack, and I think he could be a huge difference maker in today's game.
And speaking of our new receivers, what I think we're going to do in the first 2 quarters, or maybe even to establish the running game a little bit with Adams, and maybe even do some read options with Kaiser and Malik.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I think that Texas obviously knows what we're bringing to the table, but I think that we know what Texas are bringing to the table. Their new offensive coordinator is a guy that worked under Art Briles, the former Baylor coach, so obviously they're going to go up tempo and try to get off a lot of plays, but they're also going to be breaking in a brand new freshman quarterback in Shane Buechele and possibly Tyrod Swoops, who we didn't have much trouble with last year. Not to say that's not going to be the case this year. I mean, he's obviously going to be improved, and supposedly this Buechele kid is the real deal, but I definitely don't have too much concern about that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll try to again with our call-in person and go from there. So everybody grab a snack, go watch some of the replay of USC getting hammered last night, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish.
Looks like our call-in is in here.
Jason, Bob Grable.
Hey, Mr. Grable, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for calling in this morning. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No worries.
I know you probably have a lot of stuff going on, being that today is game number 1 for this season. How are you feeling about today?
You know what? Without knowing, I really don't know a whole lot about Texas, but they're saying that Notre Dame is supposed to be a good test for Texas. I think Notre Dame's got some good players. I'm not sure how deep they are, but I'm hoping that Texas is a good match for Notre Dame.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who may not recognize the voice, right now we're joined by All-American Notre Dame linebacker from 1979 to 1981, Bob Grable. And yeah, Bob, I think you're right on point there. I don't know if you follow College Game Day or anything, but I try not to get too worked up. But they kind of got me fired up yesterday, saying that Texas is the better team. That blows me away. I understand they're probably much improved, and I respect all of Notre Dame opponents, like I'm sure you did in your playing career. But to say they're better than this team, I mean, we have two guys throwing the ball around that could probably start for any team and excel for any team in the nation.
Right, I agree with you. And as far hey, every game is a new game, and certainly Notre Dame has to prove themselves. But I don't know what they have seen. I was kind of miffed at the same thing. I did hear College Game Day yesterday. Kind of miffed at the fact that hey, Texas is a better team without doing anything. They didn't. Notre Dame beat the dog snot out of them last year, and hey, that's why they play the game, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we personally can't wait for it. I've been amped up for this since, like we were just saying, the last second of the last snap in the Fiesta Bowl. So we're extremely excited that we're finally here at game day.
I'm looking forward to it myself.
Leprechaun Nate here, my 13-year-old son, has a question for you.
Yes.
In the game against Michigan, what happened after the blocked field goal?
What happened after the blocked field goal? I had to land, and I actually landed right on my head. Actually today I have arthritis in my neck, and it wasn't that play that created it, but certainly that play didn't help. I made a lot of tackling with my head, and they attribute most of my arthritis to my poor what they would consider these days to be a poor tackling technique. But that's how I was taught back in those days, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, Bob, in the 1979 game against Clemson, you had 26 tackles. That is just unbelievable to me. I mean, was there something special about that game that had you in position to make those kind of plays, or was it just, I mean, you were obviously a great tackler. You were known for your aggression and your sure tackling ability. But, I mean, was there something special you did against Clemson in 1979 in that game to set that record?
Well, I think what they did more than what I did, Jason, I think they ran the ball. I want to say they ran the ball maybe 60 times that game.
Wow.
And that's the difference between teams today versus teams back then. Everyone back then tried to establish a running game first, and then if that didn't work, they would rely on the passing game. Now a lot of teams will try to use their passing game to set up their run game.
Sure.
And you see much more now, a 50-60 pass type game versus, a 50-60 play run type of a game. And I just had a lot of opportunities that game. And we had a pretty good team. Even though we were 7-4 that year, and we actually lost to Clemson. We had an opportunity to beat Clemson, and we just didn't come through with it.
Knowing what you know about this year's team, you talked about the Clemson game and the fact that you guys were a good team, but you went to 7-4. What you know about this team, Team 128, what's your take on this team? I mean, do you feel like this is a team that has a chance to really compete for that college football playoff spot, or is this a team that may be in a rebuild? As some people are saying, I mean, we're ranked number 10 in the nation currently, and sometimes as high as 9 or 8. What's your take on this team that's about to go out there against Texas this afternoon?
Well, in every team, hey, people make plays, people don't make plays. Last year, they made plays, all the way up to the Clemson game. We had the 2-point conversion. We had an opportunity there to be able to even take that game. But, things happen during the course of a football game where, it doesn't work out in your favor. And we had some opportunities, when I was playing, especially the 1980 season. We wind up tying Georgia Tech down at Georgia Tech, dropped from we were number one at that point. I think we were number two at that point. Dropped down to, I think we dropped down to 4 or 5. Come back the next week and we beat Alabama and we jumped back up to number 2. And then we go out to Southern Cal and, we lay an egg out in Southern Cal. But, the fact of the matter is, any given day, any team, can beat another team.
Absolutely.
And it's, it's preparation, it's a mindset, it's intensity. There's so many things involved in playing a football game that, that can make it or break it. And, even being relaxed, having that relaxed attitude,
sure.
Can help people at times. So, what's it going to be? I think they have all the potential. I think they have as much potential as they had last year. How's that?
I like that answer.
Okay, now, yeah, and to be in a position, I think they can have a better offense. I think their offense will be better than it was last year. And they may have to rely on their offense a little bit more than they rely on their defense this year.
That's kind of the big question mark is the defense going to step up? And if you ask me, I think that what I know about the situation, I think Van Gorder, this now being the 4th year of that scheme, I think he's going to have them in a position to understand things a little bit better. I think he's got some smart players out there. I think a big thing that's been missed in this whole deal, obviously losing Sheldon Day, Jalen Smith, Romeo Quarl, guys like that. We're getting Jerron Jones back, and Jerron Jones is a force inside, and I just don't think a lot of teams that we play on our schedule are going to be able to block that guy. So I personally think our defense steps up this year, and we see some really aggressive yet smart plays made by some of these guys. You talk about making plays. I see Niles Morgan making a lot of plays. I see Avery Sebastian and Devin Studstill, Drew Tranquil, our safeties, making plays. So I'm excited to see it out there.
Yeah, and Jason, also, there's some new young kids coming in at DB that I think will have an opportunity. From what I understand, as athletic as anyone on the team, and if they're in a position where they get an opportunity, who knows what can happen?
Absolutely.
All of a sudden you might have a 4-year starter in secondary, and when you have a 4-year starter in secondary, that becomes really, in this day and age of football, it becomes a significant advantage for you.
Absolutely. You're talking about Sean Crawford over there on the other side from Cole Luke, and I think you're right. He's one of the more athletic players that we've had at that position in a long time. So it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely.
Getting back to your career, what would you say is you had the block field goal against Michigan. You had some, a record that still stands against Clemson with the most tackles in one game. What was your favorite moment as a Notre Dame athlete out on the field?
Probably, I would say I would say there were two situations. One, the big win over Alabama my junior year. That was I think that the neatest part about that was two things. Number one, we shut them out. Number two, we did it as a team. Whenever we had guys in the defensive line, Scott Zedek, John Hankard, we had some guys that really, really got after it and played. Scott Zedek had as good of a football game as anyone I've ever seen at that point. And Scott was one of the best defensive linemen that I think that we've had come through there in a while. Had some knee issues, but he had a great game. We had some great things happen. And then, you know what? They had a couple of opportunities to be able to hit some deep balls, and they couldn't connect with them. So after the game, when you win a big game like that, it's a party. It's a lot of fun, and we got back on campus, and when we got back on campus, there were there were as many people as I could have counted, and it was a lot of fun. And the other time really would have been after the LSU game when Jerry came in his first game, and whether LSU was good or not so good. Winning that game, that elevated us to number one in the country because of a couple losses. And, you think you're on top of the world until that next week, and if you don't prepare and you don't get ready and you don't have all your ducks in a row, you get beat. And, the roller coaster ride that exists in college football, hey, ask Oklahoma about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's that simple. And you come in, and whether you're ready or not ready, you play. Hey, these other guys are preparing, and whether it's their biggest game or whether it's not so big of a game, if you don't execute, you're not going to have success.
Absolutely. Okay, so I know you used to, or maybe you still are. Are you still the football coach, head football coach at Moeller?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not. We parted ways back in '08, and I taught for the rest of that school year, and now we are involved in a real estate business where we own and operate, quite a few mobile home communities in the Cincinnati area.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like any rental situation. You have the same issues no matter whether you're playing or coaching football, for that matter, or whether you're involved in trying to get people to understand, what needs to take place for them to be successful, in a rental situation.
Sure. Now, going back real quick to your time at Moeller, that seemed to be kind of a Notre Dame factory for a while there. Can you talk about some of the kids that you coached that ended up going to play at Notre Dame, and did you have a big impact on that decision?
Well, I think that Jerry had a lot to do with as many kids. We wound up, when I was there, we had, I think, 7 or 8 kids from Moeller on Notre Dame's team when I was there. So, as you know, Jerry is always a very strong, devout Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
And, to be able to, whether he pushed them, whether he, how much influence was there were as many good players at Moeller at the time who went to other schools as there were the kids that went to Notre Dame. But Notre Dame only wanted the kids that wanted to be there.
Absolutely.
So, when I had the opportunity, it came down for me between there and Michigan. And, telling some very, very good family friends that I wasn't going to Michigan was very, very hard.
Sure. Okay.
So it was, but there's great schools, everywhere, and everyone has to decide on what the best situation is for them. I was just very fortunate and blessed that, I made a decision that I'm ecstatic about. So.
Absolutely, and obviously it's the old saying, the 40-year decision to go to Notre Dame, and I think a lot of people realize that, and
right.
Hopefully our listeners, the kids are on the fringe of maybe Notre Dame or another school, choose Notre Dame for that very reason, because I think
I'll tell you what, it's tougher. You got a lot of challenges academically, even socially. It's
Sure.
not the party school of the Midwest or of anywhere in the country. It's you got to work hard in the classroom. You got to work hard on the football field, and there's a lot of challenges that exist with it.
Do you get back to many games in South Bend anymore?
Usually about one a year. My
Okay.
son, I've got my youngest son right now, is actually playing up at Grand Valley State University up in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
And we just got up to see him this past Thursday, as a matter of fact.
How'd they do?
So yeah. So they beat Tiffin University 38-7, I think it was. But we get up to see him play, and when the schedules the schedules work out best, we try to make it up to the Notre Dame game.
Very nice. All right.
I'm usually get back to at least one a year.
Very cool. All right, Bob. Well, hey, we really appreciate the time this morning. I know you're a very busy man, and it means a lot to us that you came on. You're obviously a hero amongst many Notre Dame fans, and myself included. So I really appreciate this time. It's been an honor talking to you.
Chase, I appreciate it as well. So thanks for your time and thanks for everything that you do.
Absolutely. Enjoy your day and go Irish.
Thank you. Go Irish as well.
Take care.
Without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to DosLep9416. We just had an amazing interview with former Notre Dame linebacker Bob Grable. Such an honor to talk to that guy. I mean, he's a Notre Dame legend. He's one of those guys that when you think of some of the hard-hitting linebackers of our team, you think of him, Bob Grable. I mean, just an awesome guy. So that was cool. Before he called in, we were talking a little bit about traditions. Nate, why don't you tell our listening audience about what our traditions are at our house for the Irish games?
Every game day we wake up. Sometimes my stepmom makes us breakfast, and then we sit down, all of us, to watch Rudy.
Yeah, we watch Rudy, and then usually our amazing, awesome mom, Elizabeth, makes a game day cake, which I can't wait to see what today's first game day cake looks like. Then we all put some new gear on. We try to switch it up every game, and then we go and touch our replica Play Like a Champion Today sign. That's always something that we've done. We take a picture, send it out. We just love our little game day traditions. I usually try to wear the same game day socks that I've had for a long time. They're these green ones that I actually stole from Leprechaun Nate, but he's okay with that.
No, I'm not.
But anyways, those are some of our traditions. We asked some of our viewers what their favorite traditions are, some of our viewers and listeners. By the way, just a quick heads up, there won't be any video for this particular podcast. It will be on YouTube, the audio portion. It'll be on Podomatic and iTunes, but we won't have video for this time, so you won't be able to see our pretty faces. But we will be back in a couple weeks with our audio portion. But just getting back to the traditions, on one of our fan page sites, Leprechaun Lair, we had some of our fans weigh in on what their favorite traditions are. And I'm going to read a couple of those because we talked about posting it. First off, in Leprechaun Lair, we had Derek Francis, who is a good friend of ours. He's out in the New York area. He said his tradition is Death Wish coffee with a tad bit of Jameson every game day AM. A little bit of Jameson for me is usually after the game, whether it's a victorious shot or a couple of pints after if it's a tough loss. And I know our boy Jerry Kennedy, another devout Irish fan, likes to enjoy himself some Jameson during the game and a nice cigar to watch the Irish kick some butt. Let's see what else. Brooks Allen said his game tradition is his two sons get in all our indie gear and order pizza to watch the game together. Thanks for letting us know about your tradition, Brooks. Let's see here. Rob Moeller said on campus his favorite tradition is a steak sandwich, prayer at the grotto, one beer at the linebacker, and if he's at home, it's the same seat on the couch, Killian's Irish red in hand, and text my dad, go Irish at kickoff. That's a cool one, too. Hey, Nate, one thing we forgot to mention about our tradition. What do we do when Notre Dame's about to kick? What do we do?
We do the thing that they do at the games, go Irish, and when Yoon kicks a field goal, obviously you got to do the Yoon.
Yeah, actually Troy Keenan, that's his favorite thing to do. He'll even do it via text if we forget to text him that. So he's got us on point. Joe Badillo said he watches Rudy the night before every first game of the season. Sounds just like us. Thanks, Joe, for that. Jake Cook said the touching of the sign. He said, man, when I see our guys touch the sign, it gives me chills. Armando Luna said, Armando's also another SoCal Notre Dame fan. He said, early workout on game day to take my mind off the game. Cruise over to Starbucks for some coffee. Once at home and kickoff nears, I tell my wife to leave the living room or leave the house. Go Irish. Absolutely. Thankfully, when Liz and I were getting together, I was very upfront about my obsession and my craziness. So she's used to it now. She usually just goes in the man cave while we're going nuts in the living room, running around. I mean, I literally get a full 30 or 3-hour cardio session in when the Irish are playing because I'm going totally ballistic when we score or get scored on. So hopefully it's one or the other this year. Scott Go Irish Adams, another one of our good friends and supporters, said, my favorite game day tradition is just surrounding myself with great friends, enjoying some awesome grub, having more than a few drinks, and cheering our beloved Irish to victory. Absolutely. For those of you that have been to Notre Dame, you know the game day tradition of tailgating is like no other there. It really is a family atmosphere, and I don't think any other fan base of any other sport, any other team can truly understand the unity and the family that we feel as part of this Notre Dame fan base. It's really something special. And we had a chance to meet Scott and Jeremy Lobenthal, Pam Bauer, Bill Norberg, several people, Jerry Kennedy, several people during our last trip, and everybody's just so wonderful and accommodating. Melissa Kovac, I mean, just great people that I really can't wait to see when I go out there for Duke this year. Shiska Bradford, another local Southern California guy, said, I really don't have one. I definitely get up early and get the family all riled up. I'll tell you this, that it's against my religion to miss a Notre Dame game. So that's another one. I think some people, I feel bad for them when they say, I have to DVR the game, or, when Nate's not able to watch it and he has to watch it recorded. It really sucks because you don't get the same excitement or intensity. I think I've probably missed maybe 5 games in the 26 years of fandom live. Unfortunately, I'll be missing one game this year, which is the Miami game. I have a work event I'll be at. But so on October 29th, I'll be on radio silence until about 11 o'clock at night. And then the neighbors will be awoken by a lot of screaming, yelling, and punching things from about 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. They'll be all right. John Halfbauer said, having my family come over and celebrating an Irish win. Right on, John. This one I really like. This is kind of one of the better ones for last. Don Sandifer, another local SoCal Notre Dame fan, said, I put my mom's picture in the chair she used to sit in with a Miami Indy helmet on both sides. Or I'm sorry, a mini. Wow, Freudian slip. Once again, Don, I'm going to read this again to do it justice. He said, I put my mom's picture in the chair she used to sit in with a mini Indy helmet on both sides. So that's a very cool one. Obviously, our Notre Dame fandom runs deep, and it's something that's passed on for many generations. And then last but not least, Brett Beeman said, my favorite game day tradition, I try to remind myself that it's just a game and not worth upsetting anyone, period. Then the game starts. That's what Brett had to say, which is so true. I mean, we want to sit there and say, it's just a game, win or lose, whatever. But realistically, it's going to affect us if they lose. And me especially, I have a difficult time with losing in general, but especially when the Irish lose, and try to control myself afterwards either way. But it's like my wife says, she won't take me out in public after a game, win or lose. So take that for what it's worth. So we're going to take another break once again here, and then we'll be back with another interview and a little bit more insight and traditions. We'll get to some more traditions because they're coming into the Facebook page. And thanks for listening. We'll be back.
There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish.
All right, we are back with Dos Leprechauns, and since today is game day and the game is in Texas, in Austin, Texas, we wanted to call one of our buddies, one of our big supporters, Tim O'Shea. Tim, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you doing today?
We're great, man. Me and Leprechaun Nate are so pumped, just like everybody else, for the game. It's been way too long, and just beyond excited to get this thing going.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like when I found out yesterday from one of my best friends that I've known for years, and him, calling me and saying, hey, I've got an extra ticket. You want to come down? Of course, I'm not going to turn it down. It's like it made my 3-day weekend perfect.
Now, is he a horn honker, or is he an Irish guy?
He's a horn guy.
Poor guy.
Other than that, we get along great.
So Tim, what's the environment like down there? I know you're about 25 minutes away from Austin right now in your hotel, but what's the environment like? What are the Texas fans saying? What's the Irish fans saying? How's the overall environment?
Well, from right now and from where I'm at, which is called Leander, it's kind of really quiet. So I guess as we get closer to the stadium, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hoopla between both fans on both sides of both teams. But other than that, yeah, it's going to be kind of crazy tonight, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, hopefully crazy in a good way. Hope you're going to be taking shots of Jameson in celebration, not in wallowing in your sorrows.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
So being a Texas native in general, I mean, what have you been hearing around there? What are your friends that are Texas horn honkers saying? I mean, what's kind of the overall consensus going on out there in UT land right now?
Well, I put it this way. I think most UT fans down here are thinking that they're going to pull off the upset tonight. But you know what? There's two big schools playing one another, and both schools have the utmost respect for one another, just like as I would if I was a Texas fan. I would have the utmost respect for Notre Dame, vice versa. But other than that, I really, deep down, I think this is going to be a good first half. Come second half, I think Notre Dame will pull away.
A lot of people are saying that. I still cannot believe Herbie straight up said on record, on air, on TV that Texas is more talented and has a better team than Notre Dame. I mean, let's be real here. They're not 35 points better over 1 year because, while we lost Jalen, we lost Romeo, we lost Sheldon, Will Fuller, Chris Brown, some of those guys. We still reloaded with some young studs that I think you could match up with any of the even experienced guys from Texas, and you still got a better matchup for Notre Dame.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what, the thing with the Texas team down here, not that I really follow them, but I think from what happened last year, I think they'll be more hungrier, and I think they'll be more ready for this game than they were last year when they flipped in South Bend.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. They're going to come out ready. We got a lot of our fan base saying it's going to be a 3-4 touchdown blowout. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now. I personally think it's going to be like a 34-28 type deal, like anywhere between 3.5 and 6 points. I wouldn't be surprised. I still truly believe with all my heart we're going to win, but it's definitely going to be close. They're going to come out fired up. There's going to be 100,000 burnt orange honkers out there going nuts, and it's going to be a difficult environment. I think this is a great first test, and hopefully we can avoid that upset bug that Oklahoma and LSU and the team down in Southern California didn't avoid last night.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I mean, seeing OU losing the way they lost to Houston and Wisconsin to beat LSU, that's why I made a post earlier thinking, we have got to actually take Texas seriously. And I know some are going to say, why take them seriously? Well, the reason I bring it up is because we're actually playing on their home turf. So it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I'll let you get to it. I know you got some pregame festivities to take care of, and stay safe out there. You're a tiny little man, so I don't want you messing with any of those big corn-fed UT fans. So keep yourself safe, but still cheer loud and go Irish, baby.
Oh, most definitely Smalls, and definitely go Irish.
All right, man. Have fun. Take care, buddy.
You too.
Thanks. Later.
Bye.
All right, we want to thank Tiny Tim O'Shea, for calling in once again. He's out in UT land right now, about to go to the game, so it was kind of cool to get that. What do you think of that little instant analysis there from the side of the game, Nate?
That was cool, and when you go to the Duke game, I think you should do that too. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to do a call-in. You can man the fort over here for Dos Leprechauns, and I'll do a remote over there in South Bend and talk about the Duke game coming up. So thanks again, Tim, and we'll be back with our final segment here in just a few minutes.
Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish, go fighting Irish, go fighting Irish.
All right, welcome back to Dos Leprechauns. We are joined right now by a former running back for the Irish, also former running back for the now returning Los Angeles Rams, Greg Bell. Greg, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. Are you ready for game day today?
I am, very much so.
You what's your take on this year's team? How do you feel about our Irish this year?
Well, I think they're going to have a great team. I think they've got a lot of good players coming back from last year. I mean, that's the only way you can judge them when you don't see them. We're in that kind of position where we're just kind of sitting back and waiting to see what Kelly puts on the field. We definitely want to know who's going to be the quarterback, and definitely want to know who's going to be, we think we know who's going to be holding the ball, but we just want to see all the components because I'm sure most listeners like myself haven't been back to South Bend to watch anything.
All right, man, I got to put you on the spot. Who's going to get the first snap at quarterback for the Irish?
Oh, if I were choosing, I would probably go with DeShone Kizer.
Okay.
I mean, that's about as.
Yeah, that's kind of a sure bet, right? Did we lose you?
Hello.
Okay. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. I know Greg just got a rental car, so.
And so, I would go with DeShone Kizer without a doubt at this point in the game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I know Kelly said it's going to be a little bit scripted, like five for one guy, 3 for one, then 5 for the other guy. So that'll be interesting to see how that happens. I know Auburn had some trouble with it yesterday, but Auburn doesn't have a DeShone Kizer and a Malik the Freak, so I think we're going to be in a good place.
Well, I think Malik coming into the season last year had come out, did everything that was necessary to win a position. But, that old story when I was in the league and in the National Football League, they see the old thing is you can't make the club in the tub. And unfortunately for him, he got injured. He got injured so early in the season, and it put Deshaun Kaiser in a position where he could go out and actually perform and show himself. And the guy played about as well as you could have asked anyone to play under those circumstances. I mean, he darn near took us to a national championship. And I think his level of play probably exceeded anything that Kelly thought he was capable of doing last year.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of us were a little bit taken aback. I mean, I knew we had a capable backup with Deshaun, but I never thought in a million years that he would lead us to a Fiesta Bowl appearance. And like you said, within a 2-point conversion of a national championship potentially.
Yes, yeah, definitely. He played great last year.
Sure. So moving on, you talked about a little bit about your NFL career. I mean, you had a prolific NFL career with. I know you played with the Bills, the Rams, and the Raiders. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences in the NFL? What's it like for you now to have the Rams back here in LA? I mean, what was it like being an NFL football player?
Well, I tell people the best way of describing playing in the National Football League is basically never wake up. You get an opportunity to live your dream, and I think that's pretty much what those 1,600 guys a year get a chance to do. They get a chance to live their dream, and to be able to do that for almost 10 years. I joke with a lot of kids all the time is that I tell them I got to pinch myself sometimes because not only did I have the opportunity to go to a university like Notre Dame, but I also got an opportunity to live out my dreams through Notre Dame, playing in college and going on to play in the pros. So that's the best way I can describe it. It's like I never got a chance to wake up.
Now, you were drafted in the first round out of Notre Dame by Buffalo. Were you automatically slotted to be the number one running back for that team, or did you have to earn your way into that spot?
Well, it was it's a different scenario only because this was during the era of USFL and the National Football League, and at that time, Buffalo actually had an all-pro running back named Joe Cribbs. And Joe actually left, and so the position pretty much was slotted for me coming into Buffalo. A lot of pressure was put on me to perform immediately, and it's kind of funny when you have that kind of pressure. Sometimes guys fold, sometimes guys, they hold them and do what they're supposed to do. And nothing for me was that it took me about 6 or 7 weeks, but once I got adjusted to the speed of the game, knew what I was doing. I mean, that's the biggest thing when you go from one level to the next. It's just basically knowing what you're supposed to be doing. And once I knew what I was supposed to be doing, I was capable of actually having a pretty good season, end up, running for over 1,000 yards, making the Pro Bowl, doing all those things. It just, that's the biggest part about going into the National Football League. You get a playbook that's as large as any book you'll ever see, and they expect you to know everything in that playbook, and that takes a little time for a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it like playing in the Pro Bowl?
I tell people all the time, Pro Bowl is an honor, but it's one of those things that's very subjective. Playing in the Pro Bowl, it's like playing it. I tell you what, it's like playing in any other all-star game that most guys will get a chance to play in high school or going into college. I played in the Japan Bowl and the Hula Bowl. So it's an all-star game. So it's not really a game. Guys are they're more interested in making sure that they don't get hurt in the game. And that was the same thing. It's an honor to be voted in by your peers. A lot of times, there's always favoritism in a lot of things. So, I took the Pro Bowl in stride. It gave me an extra paycheck for the end of the year. That's about, the extent of that. But, I would have rather given up the Pro Bowl and played in the Super Bowl.
Sure, of course. Now I know yesterday you did an on-air segment on AM 830 with Pep Fernandez, who's a guy that we love following. He does a great job covering high school sports here in the Inland Empire. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be a regular thing that fans should expect as far as Rams coverage and Ram pregame type stuff?
Well, it's more than just Ram coverage. Of course, it's going to be focusing on the Rams coming up on their Sundays or Monday night game. But it's really about the legends as much as it is the Rams. what I did when I created that show and asked Pep to come on and co-host with me was put together a show that was going to give really the Rams a presence all the way down into the Inland Empire in Orange County. With them being all the way up in Agoura Hills, their presence in the Inland Empire is probably going to be somewhat slight to start. So we wanted to make a presence, especially in Orange County, because, the Jim Everetts, the Vince Ferragamos, the Jackie Slaters, the Leroy Irvins, the Mike Wilshers, the guys who, a lot of the people who are, wearing these new jerseys, most of them, I tell people all the time, I'm not sure they actually know who a lot of these kids are.
That's right.
They do remember the legends of the game, and a lot of those guys are out in San Bernardino, Riverside, and Orange County. And so when I got the show put together and put it together to be on KLAA AM 830, it was one of those things where I just wanted to make sure we still had a presence down in Orange County, and I wanted to be on a station that, of course, had the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Absolutely.
That was going to be important to me because, Alan Pickett's going to be coming on. We have a Notre Dame segment. He'll be coming on right after he does the post games from South Bend or on the road, and he'll be doing a 5 to 10 minute segment with us as well. So we're going to bring legends on every week. Next week I've got Preston Denard. I'm hoping to hear back from Pat Hayden. So you'll hear from some of the greatest names that actually played for the Rams, as well as you'll hear our takes on the games coming up.
That's awesome. So when can we listen or watch that show? When's that going to be airing on AM 830?
It comes on every Saturday, typically every Saturday between 2 and 3. I know next week it's 4:30 because of the Notre Dame game. It's supposed to be off the air around 4:30. We'll probably be on a 30-minute segment because the Angels game is going to, it always supersede us. But it's scheduled to be on typically 2 to 3 on Saturday afternoon.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll definitely be, maybe during halftime of the Irish games, we'll tune into that because I really love listening to Pep Fernandez and you guys working together. I think will be great. It was a great show yesterday. You guys did a wonderful job.
So it's great when you can get guys like Earl Campbell, who just talking to Earl is a pleasure for me because he was one of the guys that I enjoyed watching and getting. Since I've been in the league, I've gotten a chance to know him. So it's always great when you can get some of the guys that you know and they're friends and you have a mutual interest.
So other than the AM 830 show, what are you up to now? What's Greg Bell up to nowadays?
I have probably it's not even a problem. I have the largest life skill camp in the country that's tied to football. It's probably the only HSPD programs that are still existent in the National Football created probably about 13 years ago. We started these programs just teaching all the elements of football, but we've taken it far beyond that. Athletes for Life has been a foundation that's mentored well over 2,000 kids a year. We've since helped. I shouldn't say just help, but we've helped mentor kids, and we've got a 98% success rate of sending kids on to college. But it's a foundation that I started some 26 years ago. I've been doing that for 26 years, as well as my Bell Management Services, and it's a consultant firm, and it's actually the one that owns the radio show as well. But it's not a busy life, but it's a fun life, and I've always been a mentor towards kids. I've enjoyed that. I've got my first book coming out called Athletic Wisdom for Students: How to Manage Life's Wins and Losses. That's a book that's kind of tailored towards kids from like 6th grade to 10th grade. Really just talking about life decisions, all the things that Athletes for Life, the foundation, has been mentoring kids for the past 26 years. So that's kind of what I've been doing since the days of playing. And my consulting firm is just a spinoff of, I used to be with Wachovia Security, so I was a broker for many years as well.
And how can somebody get more information on Athletes for Life? Where can they find you at?
AthletesForLife.org.
Awesome. Okay. All right, Greg. Well, I know you got a lot going on. You just got your rental car flying into town, so I'm going to let you go. We really appreciate the time this morning. And
I appreciate the time as well.
Go Irish.
Go Irish.
Take care.
There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish. Go fighting Irish.
All right, so it's about that time. We're going to be signing off here in a minute. It is now 11 a.m. West Coast time, so it's 5 hours and 30 minutes till game day, baby. I am literally I'm going to lose it. I promise. I usually go crazy. I mean, I get wild, get loud, start cussing, all kinds of stuff. I think it's going to be a little more amped up this year because it just seems like it's taken so much longer this year to get here. And there's just so much potential in this team. So my closing, I just want to give a couple shout-outs. First and foremost, I've been able to form a relationship with a Notre Dame family that I hold very near to my heart. It's the Williams family out of Midwest City, Oklahoma. I know they're out of Texas too. Some of their families in Texas. It's Michelle and Joe Williams are the parents, and then Alyssa Williams is the daughter. Trey Monster Williams is a young man that some of you may have heard. A couple of our loyal fans, Steve Newman, Ross Ferguson, got together and made a trip for this family out to South Bend last year possible by funding it, making some connections for some places to stay, tickets, made that happen for them because their son Trey, who was a huge Notre Dame fan, just like all of us, was unfortunately taken way too soon. I think he was 18 years old. His nickname's Monster, so I want to give them a shout-out because I know this is a hard day for them being the first game. It was such a great time for Trey when Notre Dame started playing, and we just want to make sure you guys know that he's still with us. I'll be wearing his shirt when I go out to South Bend this year, and I just want to tell you guys that we're always thinking about you and hope that you find some strength in this upcoming season that Trey's watching. So there's that. Also wanted to give a big shout-out to all of our listeners. We're up to 470 followers on Twitter, so we want to keep that fan base growing. Please share this podcast with anybody you may know that is a big Notre Dame fan. Still looking for sponsors for people to help out. We'd like to build our own studio at some point. This is Nate's dream to do something like this, so I want to continue to push that along and help him be successful. And just really want to thank everybody for the support. We're getting a lot of looks. Also, once again, we are the exclusive podcast of Legion of the Leprechaun. Big shout out to all the Jasons and Chad for making that group so successful. We're hoping this podcast will be on before the game starts, and Legion of the Leprechaun will get it first, and then we'll put it on our page and then share it on Twitter and Facebook. So make sure you check out Legion of the Leprechaun if you're not already a member. Best edits around. Jason Wood and Brian Buck do a great job on the edits, along with Jason Lynch, the enforcer. And it's just a great group. I think we have over 13,000 likes, so it's definitely gaining some popularity. So once again, that's all I have. Go Irish. Can't wait for 4:30 our time to roll around. Good luck, good health to all the players. And I know this is going to be a great year. Believe in you guys. Go Irish. Nate, what you got?
I want to shout out ARP Trooper 9. Get him to 100 subscribers. He's 12 away. Shout out to Blitzball Fanatic, and shout out to Dominic Chavez, who I just made a video with.
And one more big thank you to Jason Hedge and Studio 26 for allowing us to use their studios and helping us produce today's podcast. We'll be back in the 5-Round MMA studios again in a couple of weeks. Make sure you follow 5-Round MMA at 5-Round MMA on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And there was a good group of fights this past weekend on Fight Pass. I'm sure we'll be talking about that in our next podcast with those guys. Great MMA podcast. But with that, we're going to sign off and say go Irish, beat Texas.
We fight hard, and they know who we are. We keep the faith in our heart. Go fighting Irish, go fighting Irish, go fighting Irish, go fighting Irish. Let them know who we are.
Part of a champion, team of destiny. Expectations is only that of excellence. Scratch and claw, we gon' fight to the last breath. Just take our history of greatness as a testament.